continue with the interview with the Senior Special Assistant, Legislative Matters and Strategy to the Senate President Kingsley Amaku on CAMA. Now, it's just a few days to the elections, and this administration is winding down, the 8th Senate is winding down. Are you optimistic that the President will sign this bill into law before the end of this administration?
I am, for two reasons. One, the President himself has made the ease of doing business one of his cardinal policies, and they've been trying to do a whole lot through executive orders to improve the business environment. But we know how far all of that goes, and that the best instrument for sustainable ease of doing business will be to put this in law. And I think, therefore, that since this law actually dovetails into the policy of the government, I see no reason why it won't be signed, especially since he is a pro-poor president, and he is about employment and also about giving the less privileged an opportunity to survive and have so I think that this is one of the best piece of legislation that has been passed by the 8th National Assembly.
Now, we are seeing a trend of the President declining assent to bills. Do you think that, are you optimistic that this bill will be assented to by the President, or will it suffer the same fate that some bills have been suffering, where the President has declined assent to the bills?
It will be unfortunate if it happens to the bill, and there is no foreclosing that fact. But however, I think that it may not happen to this bill. Even though I say that because I'm optimistic, I have seen the trend you're talking about, and I think it's an issue that needs a whole lot of deconstructing, because I can't say exactly what is informing this rather quite high level of intolerance of bills that are coming from the National Assembly. But let me say, maybe not that right word, but I will say that to a large extent, the bills, there is no one bill that you can pass by any legislature in the world that will be perfect. That is why bills go through amendments, bills go through reviews, because the things that men do can't be perfect. So if those at the executive think that there will be a bill that will be perfect, that won't be stating the state of things. I think what is important is that when a bill actually mirrors the policy direction of the administration, and comprehensively, or to a large extent, deals with the core areas that helps the policy to thrive, I think it should be signed into law. Most of the conversation I have had with people from the executive indicate that they expect these bills to be perfect or better than it is. And I have always said, if we are on the same page in terms of policy, can always come back to the National Assembly for the National Assembly to review whatever issues that you may have and get the bill to be signed, because it has impact on the Nigerian economy. Aside that, a lot of public resources is wasted if bills are not signed into law and they are allowed to lie waste.
On the matter of declining assent, you speak about, the bills that are aligned with the policies of this present administration. You would like to see them signed. But then again, what about the issue of the implementability of these bills?
Well, in terms of thoroughness, maybe there is always room for improvement. But in terms of implementability, I haven't seen any of his letters that says this bill is not implementable. That's the reason I'm not signing it. However, because I've read quite a number of the letters he has sent back, and some of them are really about the technical details, and those technical details are simply details that can be dealt with through resolutions, and this we do quite often in the National Assembly. And so I think that most of the bills that have been sent back, most of them are bills that would have helped the economy create jobs, expand opportunity for our people, and also give the government the tools that it would need to recalibrate the economy so that it will be moving in the right direction.
Now, which of the bills which the president declined assent to do you think he was wrong to decline assent to?
The Federal Rules Authority Bill. The Federal Rules Authority Bill is one piece of legislation. Even the Ghanaian Parliament has asked us to provide them with, so that they can see if they can implement something akin to what we have. The reason the president gave for declining it was that the workers in the federal ministry will not have work anymore to do. And I felt that that letter was not thoroughly reviewed before given to the president for him to sign. One, because that won't be the impact of that bill. Secondly, it will provide the institutional mechanism we actually need to have our roads back in the best shape possible, especially if we want to do public-private partnership for the infrastructure development of our roads, which everybody is aware today we are not able to cover the gap in the deficit because of the quantum of cash or available resources within our budgeting public funds to be able to deal with. So we need private sector to enter into this market, but the private sector will not come in if it does not see the right institutional, legal, and regulatory framework in place to do this. And the Federal Roads Authority Bill is one of those bills that presents us with the best opportunity we could have in that. Another is the National Transport Commission bill. I think that bill also is one bill that would have provided us with a mechanism for coordinating the transport sector in such a manner that will reduce the cost of doing business in Nigeria, reduce the cost of freighting, reduce the manpower that we waste across the transport schemes. It will surprise you, and not a surprise, but if I ask you, you will see that there are no airports in Nigeria are connected to rail systems in Nigeria. Hardly are the roads to our airports the kind of arterial scheme that we should have for such haulage hubs to be able to thrive. Our ports are not linked to major roads, and so those dysfunctions that we see that shows this is one of the area that the National Transport Commission would have been able to become that engine of coordination and that engine for a more harmonious engagement and business development in the transport sector. Remember, Thomas Jefferson was one who said that without good transport system, an economy cannot develop. Now, if that is true, and I think most economists believe it is true, we then ought to begin to pay attention to the transport sector and see how we can be able to make it work better. But why it's not working is simply this: we haven't created the right institutional, regulatory, and legal frameworks that actually enable both the public resources to be spent most efficiently and for the private sector to be able to come into the market.
when the 8th Assembly came on board, one of the first things that happened was that the leadership of the 8th Assembly had consulted with the business community and certain organizations and opinion leaders to look at how to move the economy, to improve the country's economy. And some of the things that happened was that, several legislations were proposed. Looking back at those engagements and now, do you think that, those engagements, the aims of those engagements, were met in terms of the legislations proposed and the ones that eventually were passed?
I will tell you, frankly, that I'm very happy with the outcome of the output of that relationship. One, we saw the kinds of bills that actually made sense come out from that level of engagement, where we had the private sector on the same page, the public sector, regulators, academicians, everyone was brought on board. People forget very easily that even the Secure Transaction Bill and the Credit Reporting Act, both have become acts now because they've been signed into law, played a major role in moving the Nigeria in the World Bank business ease of doing business ranking. Now, that is what good laws do. They create an opportunity, they give confidence to the market, create opportunities that were not there before, and now people are in these sectors because they have an instrument that gives them confidence that when their money comes in these areas, they will prosper.
Now, this is where we draw the curtains on this week's edition of The Gavel. If you have any views on any of the issues discussed, please email us on thegavel@channelstv.com. Thank you for staying with us, and see you again next week.